We've got quite an eclectic batch here today for Low Budget Binge, so as long as you're in the mood for something on the independent side, you're bound to find it in this batch. Welcome back to ML Miller Frights. I'm ML Miller. Before we begin, please do me a favor and punch that like button down below. Share this video with all of your social media addicted pals. Click subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications. Low Budget Binge is where we venture down the path less traveled and look at low budget, no budget, and sometimes international films that never get that top billing you see with the usual Hollywood fare. I'll indicate in the review down below where you can find these films along with their trailers. Here we go. Spare Parts is new on Blu-ray DVD from RLJE Films and Image Entertainment. Directed by Andrew Thomas Hunt and written by David Murdoch and Svet Rouskov. An all-girl punk band is harassed and tricked into being captured after an especially aggressive gig by a fanatical society which holds gladiatorial games to appease ancient gods. After their capture, each of the band members have an arm severed and replaced by an edged weapon, which basically ruins their careers as musicians. Though they are at each other's throats, the band must reinvent themselves and fight weekly in order to survive the games, led by the Emperor, played by Anything for Jackson's Julian Richings. This film swings for the fences, I'll tell you that. There's a lo-fi charm to the way this film really pays attention to the tumultuous relationships between the bandmates and how they evolve once in prison to fight in the arena games. Each member of the band has their own backstory and challenges once the games begin, and director Andrew Thomas Hunt allows each of them screen time for the audience to develop an attachment to them. On a base level, Spare Parts delivers some solid violence and potent gore every chance it gets. There's either a kill or a mutilation every 5 or so minutes, so this is anything but boring. The acting, well, everyone says their line's okay, but most of the time I can envision the writer at a keyboard writing out these tough girl threats spouting out of these tough gals' mouths. If the relationships are not cliched, they are over the top and utterly melodramatic, which made it hard to take any of this story seriously. But hey, it's got scantily clad babes in leather and weapon arms kicking ass. This isn't the type of movie you go for to find depthy issues. Still, I think it would have been a little bit more devastating to them, given that their careers as musicians are basically over without their second appendages. I'd categorize Spare Parts as dumb fun. It's got all kinds of guts, gore, and grossness, but the action is poorly choreographed, though potent in the carnage that comes from it. The gals are fun, but cliched and spouting cartoonish dialogue. Spare Parts is amped up to such cartoonish levels that you can't believe the heavy emotions the story is trying to convey. I think if this one would have taken itself a little less seriously, it would have made a much stronger movie. These are very beautiful ladies, battling for their lives, mechanical limbs and all, but whenever the lines are delivered and drama is sought, it's a challenging watch. As is, see Spare Parts for the gore, violence, and the usual strong performance from actor Julian Richings. I did kind of love the song the band dubbed Miss 45 played, which is also called Miss 45. It's a nice homage as well as kind of a kick-ass track. The Darkness, aka DORCHA, is new on digital download and on demand from Trinity Creative Partnership. It's directed and written by Tharun Mohan. When a young couple move into the house they inherited from their grandmother in the Irish countryside, they uncover some age-old secrets and end up being haunted by sins of the past. While her husband is busy in town during the day at work, Lisa, played by Amelia Eve, spends the day attempting to write the follow-up to a hit novel while investigating the twisted past of their inherited estate. The main reason to check this one out is The Haunting of Bly Manor's Amelia Eve, who has an absolutely charming Naomi Watts, Susan George quality, which makes her interesting no matter what she does. Not only is she sexy as all get out, but she's able to shift from vulnerable to sassy to determined to possessed by evil spirits and be likable all the way through. She's definitely a star to look out for, just waiting to break out. I don't know if this is the role that'll do it, though. This is too subtle of a film. It's well made, but very subtle. There's something undeniably old school about The Darkness. Filmmaker Tharun Mohan deals with the low budget by relying on the charm of the actors. but also peppers in quite a lot of old-time ghost trickery with opening and closing doors and windows, shadowy figures moving in the background, ominous music and lighting, and simple effects using red corn syrup, worms, and pale faces. Sure, in this day and age of CG effects and loud piano bangs, this may feel trite, but Mohan delivers these old-school frights to keep things popping. I don't know if they'll all work, but still I couldn't help but be impressed by Mohan's commitment to past horror techniques. I fear many modern audiences may be put off by the low-budget ingenuity Mohan displays with the darkness. Still, I was entranced by the lead, caught up with the amped-up melodrama, and impressed by this throwback. If you long for scary films of the past, The Darkness is going to be the ghostly, witchy tale for you. WOE is new on demand and DVD from Gravitas Ventures. It's written and directed by Matthew Goodhue. Sorry folks, WOE is not that Joey Lawrence biopic we're all waiting for. It's something completely different. After the death of their father, siblings Charlie, played by Adam Halferty, and Betty, played by Jesse Rabideau, along with her fiancé Benjamin, played by Ryan Katner, attempts to deal with the grief in their own ways. While Betty and Benjamin plan their wedding, they reach out to Charlie, who has become reclusive and obsessive over fixing up their father's home. All the while, a specter of death looms in the shadows, haunting them all. WOE is a deep and somber experiential in grief, sorrow, and loss. It's a dredge of a film, slow and meticulous in attempting to communicate the specific feelings these characters are going through. There are lighthearted moments, most of them from the character of Benjamin, but for the most part, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow because of the dark feelings the film communicates so well. The acting is extremely strong for a horror film of this budget and scope. Halferty is distant and obsessed as Charlie. He's on the brink of something dangerous, and he wears it in the unkempt way he looks and erratic way he acts. Halferty plays the part extremely well. Jesse Rabideau is fantastic as Betty. Something about the eccentric way she dresses in mom jeans, her extreme haircut, and the way she squints her eyes when she doesn't quite understand what's going on is fascinating to watch. She's an actress I'd love to see more of, as she really offers a lot to understanding how her father's death and Charlie's breakdown are affecting the world around them. The one bright light of optimism and fun is WOE's Ryan Katner, who is loyal and good-hearted to a fault as Benjamin. He's laid back, always attempting to cheer up those around him, and trying his best to stay positive in a world of grief. While his antics may seem out of place among these morose characters, much of the humor and heart provided in WOE rests on his shoulders. If there's a star in the making in WOE, it's Katner, who embodies the good-time buddy we all want to have in times of hardship. Lending some acting heft in a smaller role is James Russo. This role is poignant as someone who has let grief take over their existence and has done so for a long time. This isn't the most fun movie to watch. Director and writer Matthew Goodhue really wants the audience to understand these characters and the pain they're going through. There's not a lot of action, and while there are a few scares, the film is more about the overall tone of discomfort and sitting with that emotion for an extended period of time. The hooded death figure that appears to Charlie and Betty does provide some moments of tension, but this isn't a film that sets out to give the heart a flutter. It's going to be too much for some, but one can't deny how thoroughly these feelings are dissected in WOE. The film really understands these feelings and drags you through them. This is mainly because of the well-thought-out performances of Halferty, Rabideau, and Katner, three actors I can't wait to see in the future. WOE is a half-hearted recommend, mainly for those with the patience and determination to really dive deep into the strong and uncomfortable emotions so well realized on the screen. Finally, we have Humunculus. It's directed by Takashi Shimizu, written by Naruki Matsuhisa, Eisuke Naitô, Takashi Shimizu, and it's from the manga by Hideo Yamamoto. Humunculus is now streaming new on Netflix. When a homeless man living in his car named Susuma, played by Go Ayano, is approached by a strange man named Manabu Ito, played by Ryo Narita, to take part in an experiment to help with his memory, Susumu tentatively agrees. But after Manabu drills a hole in the center of his head, Susumu is able to see people as the monstrous incarnations of the trauma and emotions they carry with him. These figures are often warped and twisted versions of themselves. Dubbing them homunculi, which has been represented in theory as small humanoid creatures with small heads and large mouths and hands, Susumu and Manabu attempt to help these homunculi understand their emotional issues and come to terms with them, as well as piece together Susumu's own past traumas. Adapted from a popular manga comic, Humunculus is one big mixed bag of oddity. Tonally, it's all over the place, as it starts out as a body horror in the same vein as 2002's The Eye, aka Gin Guai, and remade in 2008 starring Jessica Alba. Then evolves into a psychological horror where people are forced to revisit past traumas, and finally ends on a note that is so dramatically amped that it is almost cartoonish. It also manages to toss in some sight gags, odd humor, weird CG monsters, and the rape of an underage girl. If you're looking for something different, Humunculus definitely is that. For the most part, Humunculus is a story about a man attempting to recover his lost memories and move on from a great tragedy. It takes its sweet time to get there, with many scenes sidetracking from the plot, but eventually sums everything up in a thorough and somewhat poignant manner. Go Anayo and Ryo Narita are strong actors, and the best scenes of the film feature the both of them as Manabu toys with Susumu about his real intentions and how he can help Susumu get his memory back. It's entertaining to see all of these different creatures and formations walking down the street as if nothing is wrong, as seen through Susumu's all-seeing eye. These creations are quite imaginative, and the ones focused on make for some interesting side quests for our hero to overcome. Though the film clocks in around 2 hours, the first hour focusing on these encounters was thoroughly entertaining and moved briskly. Well, except for one little section. And boy is that section a doozy. I understand there is a cultural gap, and what is okay in one country is sometimes taboo in others, but Humunculus really ventures into some twisted territory halfway through the film, when Susumu and Manabu encounter a teenage girl who seems to have the homunculus of being made of sand. Manabu, a grown man, approaches the girl and attempts to find out more about her. When she flirts back with Manabu, he feels uncomfortable, but not before lifting her cell phone. This leads to a scene where Susumu agrees to drop off the girl's cell phone in a dark corner of a park. Once in the car, Susumu seems to want to help the girl confront her hidden issues, but then ends up raping the young girl, taking her virginity, and this somehow gets to the bottom of the homunculus torturing her soul and cures her. Now, maybe something is lost in the translation, maybe there's some kind of hidden meaning that I'm just missing, but this scene seemed completely off tone for the rest of the film. Not only does it unflinchingly depict a rape of an underage girl by the hero of this film, but also attempts to explain that this act is what helped the gal get over her problems. Cultural differences or not, this is a tasteless and ultimately unnecessary scene, especially in this day and age. And I could see a lot of people tuning out of Humunculus after they endure it. I almost noped out of it at that point as well. The second half of Humunculus again shifts in tone as Susumu begins to remember bits and pieces of his past. While this is a complex revelation, it does unfold in an equally fascinating manner, as it isn't as basic as it first seems to be. Things get rather melodramatic, and there are a lot of tearful stares into each other's eyes in the latter portion. It's not excruciating, but it does take the story into unexpected places. Humunculus is a hard recommend. It definitely delivers something different. I love the concept that we all carry different traumas, and on some visual sphere, these traumas show up in vivid and unusual forms. I kind of wish they would have kept with that concept and dropped the whole portion about the lead's memory loss, or at least made that less prevalent to the overall story. Humunculus is shocking for the aforementioned scene, but the rest of it is quite interesting, delving into original, intelligent, and challenging concepts. I just wish it would have been a more even watch tonally. That'll be it for today. Please chime in down below in the comments and let me know how on the nose or mind-numbingly wrong I am, or you can counter with your own review. So guys, you know how YouTube works. I'd love to be able to dedicate more time to this channel. I'm not monetized yet, so if you want to help me out, remember to hit all the pertinent bells and whistles down below. Want some spooky comics to read? I have 2 new horror comic book trade paperbacks you should look out for. Both GRAVETRANCERS and PIROUETTE, collecting never-before-published issues, can be found in only the finest of comic book shops. If you're looking for written reviews, you can find them on my website, mlmillerwrites.com. If you really want to show your support, I also have a Patreon page at mlmiller. Look for the link to my Patreon page down below. Thank you so much for your time, and take care.
You're doomed to live the life you're meant to be, stuck inside your reality.